Welcome. This is an extraordinary day at an extraordinary facility with an extraordinary man. I'm really looking forward to the presentation that you are about to hear from TheArthur Duncan II. His story is incredibly riveting, poignant, and inspirational and spiritual. I am Greg Peterson. I am one of the co-founders of the Robert H. Jackson Center, and we are pleased to have this special event for the Jamestown High School Pre-Law Academy. This is terrific. And to the public at large who've joined us. And I want a special shout out to the Chautauqua Region Community Foundation, Tori Ergang, for making this all a reality today, so thank you. Also, I'd like to, absolutely. Tori, why don't you stand up, Tori? Tori, stand up. She's the rock star right there. In addition, this would not be possible without the staff and the support of the Robert H. Jackson Center, and Susan Murphy is over to my left. She's the President, Chief Executive Officer, Marion Beckerink, who is right there, Development Director, and all of those folks have been inspirationally involved, and together with Sherry Shutter and Allie Johnson. I know your time is short, but therefore I want to make sure all of the basic words come from TheArthur Duncan, who was born in Los Angeles, California, but was primarily raised in Buffalo, New York by his grandparents. After graduating from 8th grade in Buffalo, TheArthur left and moved to Los Angeles to live with his mother and attend high school, where he encountered LA street gangs and a violent, drug-addicted stepfather. After graduating from high school and briefly attending college, TheArthur returned to and stayed in Buffalo. He joined a neighborhood drug gang, began to sell drugs, pled guilty to federal drug charges, and spent 3 years in prison. Upon his release from prison, he turned his life around, graduated from Erie Community College, the University of Buffalo, and while working 40-plus hours a week to help take care of his family, he graduated from UB Law School in 2012, passed the New York State bar exam, and was sworn in as a counselor and attorney at law in 2013. Thereafter, he has served as Assistant Corporation Counsel for the City of Buffalo until in July of 2016, when he opened up his practice of law, and in fact, does practice law right here in Chautauqua County. Maybe he'll talk a little bit about that. In addition, TheArthur is active in numerous facets of his church ministry together with his wife, Letitia. There's much more to be said, and it's all captured in an incredible book that he has called Felon-Attorney, and if you get a chance, and maybe some of the libraries will have it, take it out because it provides incredible insight to an incredible man. TheArthur Duncan, come join us. Thank you.
Oh, I got this mic. I can move around. Can everybody hear me? That's good. So, what they promised you guys to come here this morning? You actually wanted to come hear me speak? That's. What'd you say? Oh, I mean, I'm gonna talk to you. I mean, yeah. I just ask if you got a comment, like raise your hand. But yeah, I don't mind. I want to interact with you guys. Okay. My book, Felon-Attorney. Which one would you say stands out more? The felon or the attorney? The felon, right? I am still both. I did not get my record sealed, expunged, erased, pardoned. I am still a felon. And it's funny, I was thinking about this the other day. Like some of my clients, they're on parole, and a lot of your conditions of parole is that you can't be around other felons. And I'm like, am I gonna get my client violated? But the thing is that my whole thing is, I came here today to challenge you guys. What's the challenge? The challenge is that despite your circumstances, despite what you may go through in life, despite the hurdles and anything that in your life that may hinder you from seeking things, from peer pressure, the people trying to steer you in the wrong direction, I am here to tell you that I went through all those things, and despite all that, I stand in front of you as a licensed attorney. And as Greg was saying, I'm actually conducting a homicide trial in Mayville for the next 3 weeks. I represent Rebecca Ruiz, the young lady who was accused of homicide in Dunkirk. And to go from a person that was sentenced to jail, that did 3 years in federal prison, to now try to help someone get out of prison, it's surreal. Let me give you a little background, and I know Greg kind of touched on it. I'm originally from South Central LA. Who's seen Straight Outta Compton? Okay. I lived in Inglewood, which is like South Central. It's like you're going down Crenshaw. Once you get down Crenshaw Boulevard, it's South Central. Once you get to like 70th Street, it turns into Inglewood. Then after Inglewood, if you go east, you run into Compton. So Inglewood is like kind of in between South Central and Compton, but it's all basically the same area. If you don't know the geographics, you just think you're in LA, because it all kind of looks the same. I was born out there in '69. My father went away to Vietnam, so my mother, she was out there by herself. She sent me back here, she sent me back to Buffalo to be primarily raised with my grandparents in Buffalo. Now in Buffalo, my grandfather was a pastor. He owned like 5 houses on the road. On the street we lived on, nothing but family. So I love Buffalo. I didn't want to be in LA. I pretty much kind of hated LA. Every time I would go out to LA, my mother would be moving around because she was out there by herself. She would live in South Central, then she would live in Inglewood, and she moved back to LA. So she was all over the place. I hated LA. So I stayed in Buffalo till 13, and then after I graduated from 8th grade, I was like, let me go out to LA, see if I can get to know my father, and see what Los Angeles has for me. So I go out to LA, not knowing in the 80s, when gang violence in LA was at its peak. The drugs this is when the crack epidemic hit LA, so there's a lot of drug dealing, gang banging, and I go out there, a guy from Buffalo, not knowing anything. Even though I was from there, I didn't know anything about LA because I hated it. So I go out there, and my cousin tells me, because they call me Tony, my middle name is Anthony. Tony, you can't wear that color outside the house. And we was living in Inglewood, which was a blood neighborhood, so I had to wear red. And I'm like, what do you mean? You can't wear that color. Somebody will do something to you. And I couldn't fathom that. I couldn't believe that. Really? So you telling me because if I got on this blue shirt, if I step outside, somebody is going to do something to me? Yeah. So I fought it. I'm like, nah, I don't believe it. I didn't do nothing to this person. Why would they want to beat me up because of the color I'm wearing? So first time I walked down to the store, bunch of bloods outside wearing red. They staring at me, looking at me up and down. And they vicious with it. They come right up to you. Your blood? What's with all that flu? And because they won't say blue. What's with all that flu? I'm like, flu? What do you mean, flu? So what all that flu, blood? You a Crip? You a crab? I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm from New York. Yeah. And then I see that kind of make them ease back a little bit, so I go into it. My Brooklyn accent on them. Yeah, son, I'm from New York, you know what I mean? I don't even know what y'all talking about. And because people in California, when you say New York, they think, matter of fact, the guy told me, I was like, I'm from Buffalo. He was like, yeah, that's one of the boroughs, right? Brooklyn, Bronx, Buffalo. Yeah. So I seen that got me out of getting my butt whooped. And so each time after that, I would just because people in South Central, they have a certain draw to their voice. They talk like, what's up, homie? What's up, fool? They really talk like that. And since I was raised in Buffalo, I didn't talk like them, so I was able to talk my way out of getting my butt kicked. And so one time I was actually on the bus, and the buses was crazy. I mean, people were getting stabbed on the bus, snatched. That's when snatching chains was a big thing. Any type of chain you had on, they would snatch your chain. I was coming from basketball practice, and I had on a Lakers jacket. And a guy, he was a Grape Street Crip from Watts. He came over to me, and he pulled out a knife and put it to my throat. He was like, give me your jacket. So I took off Laker jacket, and he took it because he was like Grape Street Crip purple. I had on a purple Lakers jacket, so he took it. And the ironic part of this is, and I'm gonna just tell you how human nature is and how people get used to things. The next day in school, people were coming to me talking about, yeah, Tone, give me your jacket, ha, 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 making a big joke out of it. Yeah, give me your jacket, ha, ha, ha. It was a big joke. Basketball team, school, it was a big joke. And I'm thinking to myself, how can this be funny? How could it be funny that someone put a knife to my throat and would have killed me over a jacket? How could you make fun of this? How could you make light of this? And you know how? This happens all the time. It wasn't no big deal. It happened all the time, and so it was common. That wasn't no big deal. But I took offense to that. And I'm still getting used to this culture in California because, back in Buffalo, we didn't do nothing like that. And I was on the bus with the basketball team, somebody would have had my back. Somebody would have helped me. But instead of helping me, they made a joke out of it. So this LA stuff was, I'm like, I know I was born out here, but I don't feel like I'm one of you guys. You know what I identify with being from Buffalo and being from the East Coast. And so I'm going through this dynamic outside, trying to get used to this being in South Central and these gangbangers, and every time you go to the store, it's gangbangers there, you don't know if you, and the way it is like say for instance Crenshaw, and Crenshaw's have numbered streets, so you get on Crenshaw and you might go from 5th and Crenshaw, you can go all the way to 200 from Crenshaw. And what happens is if you get on the Crenshaw bus during this time, you pass through all these gang territories. So if you was in 20th from Crenshaw, those are Bloods. 30th, and so they call them rolling 20s. The rolling 30s is Crips. 40s is Bloods. 50s is Bloods. 60s was Crips, so on and so forth. So you get on the bus, you ride from 10 streets, you don't know who's going to get on the bus. from here to here, you might have on blue, you good. But as soon as you get to the 50th in Crenshaw, some bloods might get on the bus. Then you done. And they'll just ride the bus from 50th to 59th, and then they'll get off because they know once they get to 60s, that's Crip territory. So you get on the bus, you just don't know what's going to happen. And so every time I'm going somewhere, I'm going through this dynamic, and lo and behold, like I said, this was the time that the crack epidemic hit South Central LA in the 80s. My stepfather, he's had his routine that he would get paid on Fridays, and strike that, he wasn't my stepfather, he was my little brother's father. He had this routine that he would, after work, he worked at the post office, he would come in after work on Friday, get paid, give everybody a little change for their pocket, give my mother bill money, blah, blah, blah. Get him a couple of beers, smoke a few joints, and watch the game, maybe have a few friends over. That was his routine. One day I come home from basketball practice, and I noticed these glass pipes on the table and this white substance on the table. I ain't know what it was. I ain't paying no mind. I spoken. Went back to my room. Didn't know that was cocaine. Didn't know that he was about to get hooked on cocaine and start beating my mother, start stealing everything in the house, start keeping us up 3, 4 in the morning, banging on the door, trying to kick in the door, busting the windows, trying to get drug money. Didn't know that was coming. But it came, and it was tough. It's tough when you have someone in your household on drugs. And sure, you say they tried it, they got hooked, but it comes to a point that now they can't control that urge, and they're doing anything they can for that drug. And it got so bad that these same drug dealers in my neighborhood that my brother's father was buying drugs from, he started owing them money that he couldn't pay back. So they came to the house, basically told us that it's going to kill him and my mother if they didn't pay the drug debt. Now I'm 15, 16. What can I do? I'm calling back to my grandfather. He's praying over the phone because saying he was a minister and trying to get some money together. I can't think in school. I can't play no basketball. I'm thinking somebody about to do something to my mother. And after a while, his family was able to pay his drug debt. He left LA. And after going through all that, LA was like, had a real bad taste in my mouth. And to this day, if I'm asleep and someone bams on the window and wakes me up, I think about my brother's father. Because every time I used to go to sleep, he used to wake us up, bam on the door, on the window, trying to get in. Still to this day. And I'm talking about something that happened over 20 years ago. More than 20 years ago. 30 years ago. So after all that, and I know someone in here has to be thinking, this dude standing in front of me went through all that in LA because of drugs, and he had the audacity to become a drug dealer himself? Who in here is thinking that? Nobody? Huh? You gotta be. That I became a drug dealer and subjected somebody else's family to the same stuff I went through and sold poison. Did I start off wanting to do that? No. I came back to Buffalo and started working little jobs and stuff, and I came back here, and I thought my cousin had a studio, came back here, thought I was gonna make me a rap album, maybe play some ball. I didn't plan to stay. I was just coming back to Buffalo for a little while just to get away from LA, and then I was gonna go back. So I started hanging around my friends that I went to elementary school in Buffalo. And one day, we finished playing basketball. We walked down to the corner, got some weed, out there smoking some blunts and drinking 40s. And while we standing on the corner, this old guy, old bummy looking guy, comes over to my friend and says, yo, you got a dime? So I'm thinking to myself, why is this bummy dude come out here asking my friend for change? I mean, you would think at least he would ask for $1. I mean, what's so important? I mean, what's so specific about a dime? I'm like, I'm reaching in my pocket like, here, I got a dime for you. So I see my friend, like, run around the building and go back to the alley. I'm like, where is he going? I got a dime for him right here. So I kind of fell back and see my friend come back around the corner and go over to the guy and hand him something, and the guy give him a $10 bill. Excuse my language, I'm like, oh, shit. Y'all selling drugs? And I became an outcast. They all looked at me like, yeah, Tone. Man, we out here getting this money. You need to get some of this money too. And I'm like, first thing I thought about was LA. All I went through in LA for selling drugs, and I know the detriment that it causes to a family and a person. Will I ever sell drugs? No. And I moved back to Buffalo, and I was living with my grandfather. He was a pastor. And, you know, in the community we in, you know, everybody know each other. Everybody know my grandfather's the pastor. And it was so prevalent that, like, even before I started selling drugs, when I would go hang out on the corner with my friends, it didn't look good, me hanging out there. And so everybody knew my grandfather's van. So I'd just be hanging out with him. I wasn't selling drugs, but people would be like, yo, Tone, here come your grandfather. So I would go run around and hide because I didn't want him to see me out there on this corner where these things was going on, even though I wasn't indulging at the time. So lo and behold, here's the lesson of peer pressure. I said I would never, ever, ever sell drugs. But what did I do? I hung around 9 drug dealers. And guess what? I became the 10th. If you surround yourself with certain type of individuals, you're around them for a reason. You have something in common with them. You have likes. You like to do the same type of things. You're guilty by association. This is what you like to get into. Well, you have to see that there's consequences to that. If you're around individuals that are not doing something in their life, that have any focus or what they're going to do with themselves, you're around the wrong crowd. If you're around a person, you hang with someone and you know they have no direction, they have nothing to lose. I had a client, he got arrested riding in a car with a guy with a gun. And so I go to his arraignment, and he comes out, and he's sitting there with his co-defendant. And this guy, he's a pretty good guy, he works, just had a baby. And I come over to him, And I look at his co-defendant. His co-defendant got tattoos on his face, like on his lips, and all that. Just looked crazy. And I'm just like, why would you get in the car with somebody that looked like that? And I'm just being serious. What possibly could this guy have going for himself? And I'm not being judgmental, but we see what we see. A lot of times we have to get past prejudices, but we are prejudiced because we prejudge. And I'm like, dude, didn't you just have a baby? Why 12 o'clock at night you riding around in a car with this dude? You know this dude ain't got nothing to lose. You know he don't work, no nothing. But you go put yourself in that position? Just from a legal standpoint, I know a lot of you guys, you have doing this is like pre-law. Just from a legal standpoint, there's something in New York State, it's called Article 20. Article 20 allows everyone in the house to be charged, everybody in the car to be charged with whatever they find in the house. If you're in the car, for you guys, you think, oh, it's a gun in the car or it's drugs in the car, it only could belong to one person. No. Everybody is getting charged. Everybody is going to jail. In the house, they find a gun. Everybody is going to jail.
Until what?
Huh?
Until somebody pays guilty for it?
Maybe. I mean, first of all, you have to go through the proceedings. They may do DNA down the line. Someone may take the gun down the line. But that's not going to stop them from arresting you. And still, it's called constructive possession. So if you're in the house, they can still, if someone say it's my gun, constructively, you still charged with it. So that's the lesson, guys. You got to know who you're hanging with. You got to. And people will, you think, I got cases, guys, that like, they get pulled over and a guy has a gun and he's like, oh, I'm on parole. I can't take this gun, and throws it under the seat. I'm on parole. Or you got somebody who he's about to get in your car and you're like, yo, dude, you ain't got nothing on you, do you? Oh, no. You sure? No, I ain't got nothing on me. As soon as you get pulled over, oh, I forgot I had this 8-ball of crack in my pocket. You think it's a joke. When I was on parole, straighten my life out, and I'm kind of jumping ahead. Straighten my life out, I decided to go to Charlotte with my cousin. Now, I had just graduated from UB, applying to get into law school. Decided to go down to Charlotte with my cousin. My cousin friend picks us up. He's driving us to the airport. Now, mind you, I'm on parole. I just did 3 years in prison. I'm still on parole. I'm going down to Charlotte, have a little fun. Now, my cousin knows I just got out of jail. The guy knows I just got out of jail, that I'm on parole. Do you guys know, like, the airport, they don't need any probable cause to search you? You know that, right? TSA, all that. They don't need nothing. It's like the border, airport, like same line. So we get in the car and we ride and we get to the airport. And my cousin, kid you not, love him to death, turns to his friend and say, oh, I forgot to put this up. Had a bag like this full of crack, 8 balls. It probably was about like 10 of them in there. I'm on parole. I just graduated from UB. I'm trying to get into law school, and we're at the airport. I just did 3 years for selling drugs in federal prison. My life is about to be dead. And I turned to him, and I'm like, yo, what the is that? And the funny part is, before I went to jail when I was selling drugs, I like to live on the edge, so that wouldn't have been no big deal. Like, yo, put that under the seat or something, we good. So he turns to me, oh, Tony, you tripping. I got the stash spot, we good. I'm like, dude, we at the airport. The airport. They go call the dogs. They go rip this car apart. Are you crazy? I'm trying to get into law school. Oh, Tone, you tripping. You tripping. It's tough. What's the lesson with that? I knew my cousin was a drug dealer. I should have never got in the car with him. So again, you got to watch your surroundings and the people you associate with. Anyways, just to go back, I never thought I was going to sell drugs. So I wind up having my oldest son, and I'm like, oh, now I got to provide for my oldest son. And so I'll start working at JCPenney's, Laidlaw, Bus Aid and stuff, but I'm still hanging around with my friends, these drug dealers. And so we go to the mall and they're buying stuff, and what a man being prideful and not being able to provide for his son was my detriment. Because I remember one day we went to the mall, and me and one of my friends' son is the same age. So he's buying his son Jordans and all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yo, won't you get your son? I was like, I can't afford it. I got it. So he bought my son Jordans and all that. That didn't feel, that hurt me. That pride. That I couldn't provide for my son and give him the same thing that he was giving his son. So slowly but surely, it kept drawing me in. And I started off selling marijuana. And I did that for a while. And I wind up losing most of my money gambling. So I went to my friend and I'm like, yo, I need to borrow some money so I can get me some more weed to sell. And he had been in my ear the whole time trying to get me to switch over. And he's like, nah, I ain't got no money, but I just re-up and I can give you this. And I'm like, nah, I ain't selling no crack. Tone, you out there anyways, you might as well get this money. You risking yourself, you might as well take it. And I got bills to pay. I take care of my son, so I took it. And he walked me through it. He took me to the cook. They cooked it up and took me back to the house and we bagged it up, took me out to the corner and start telling the people, what we call fiends, oh, yo, Tone, he's got crack now. Go see Tone. And I sat out there and I was shaking like a leaf. Just like shaking. I could not believe what I was about to do. I could not believe it. And the guy came around, and I remember to this day, he asked me for two for 15. And I went around the corner to the stash spot, gave him 2 dimes, got the $15, and I felt like I sold my soul to the devil. I could not believe what I just done. But how long did that feeling last? And I'm just gonna be honest with you. How long you thought it lasted? No, only to the next sale. Well, man, I'm like, oh, shoot, this is easy. And because you tell yourself you're never gonna do something, and that's why a lot of people say never say never. But you gotta need to be true to yourself and recognize who you are and the consequences of your actions. Now, I sold drugs at least a good probably 8-9 years, and all the while I knew I was dead wrong. I kept saying I'm gonna stop when I see this amount of money. I'm gonna stop when this day come. I'm gonna stop after I finish this pack. I'm gonna stop, but I didn't. I kept on putting my hands in the fire, putting my hands in the fire, putting my hands in the fire, then it becomes a lifestyle. You like living on the edge. I don't know how many times we thought the secret indictments was coming or the police was coming to raid the house, and we would grab all the scales and all the money and the guns and stuff and go hide them, and it wouldn't come. And then with my crew, it never came. And lo and behold, I met this Dominican guy from the Bronx, and he was trying to get me to start buying drugs for him. And I was like, no, I got my own peoples. I don't, you know what I mean? I don't need it. He was like, I can beat any price. Anything you need, I can get it for you. I'm like, no, I'm good. He was like, man, I'll give it to you. I'm gonna give it to you. You give it out to your people, see how the product is, and then we do business. So I'm not gonna turn that down. So the guy gives me a key, and it was terrible. I mean, it was soft. I had all this baking soda on it, so I couldn't sell it. So he calls me on the phone. He goes, T, what's going on? How's it going? I was like, not good, but I have something for you tomorrow, because I just start like basically giving it away. And let me go back. This is important. And I hope you guys take all the little things I'm telling you during this speech. He calls me on the phone and says, T, how's it going? And I say, not good, but I'll have something for you tomorrow. That conversation got me 3 years in federal prison. That's it. They didn't find no drugs on me, not a pebble, a piece of anything. I did 3 years in federal prison for a phone call. Conspiracy. When the guy took his plea, he told the federal authorities what the conversation was about. They arrested me. My brother was my co-defendant. My cousin was my co-defendant. And they even arrested my aunt because she knew what my cousin was doing. So all you young ladies who wants to date a drug dealer, they will put you in jail too. All you young men who want to sell drugs, they will put your mother in jail to put the pressure on you. You have to think about your actions and who and all they affect. So the federal authorities came to my house 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm living down the street from my grandfather, and arrested me, my brother, his daughter, my aunt, and my cousin on our street, and my grandfather is a pastor of a local church. How do you think that made us feel to embarrass my grandfather like that? One thing I learned in jail was your parents, you are the apple of your parents' eyes. Your parents, and I know you guys can identify with this, your parents talk about you all the time, whether good or bad. They're on the phone with their sister, their friend, telling your business. All the time. I can't believe Cindy ain't clean her room. I told Joe to do the dishes. They ain't doing nothing. He just got in trouble in school, blah, blah, blah. You are their life. So now, I'm in federal prison, and when someone asks my mother, how's Tony doing? What is she supposed to say? Tough, right? Tough. Oh, how's Tony doing? He was always smart. He's get good grades in school. What he doing now? In federal prison. I embarrassed my family. I embarrassed myself. I gave away my born freedom that as a black man, my forefathers that were slaves, to have this freedom, I gave it away. Now I'm in federal prison trying to survive. And let me tell you about the type of federal prison I was in. And you might say, oh, you was good. You went to that federal prison? They call it the country club. It's federal prison camp. It's for nonviolent criminals, white-collar criminals, so on and so forth. Prison camp, work camp. I was there for 3 years. There's no bars. There's no wall. If you want to, you can wake up in the morning and say, I'm leaving. I'm dead serious. Here's the thing. Exactly. For people who gets under 10 years, and people that's like in USP and the other prisons, they work their way down to this camp, and it's for people under 10 years, and they figure you're not going to escape because you're just going to get more time. Here's the other thing. It's a dormitory setting. So each dorm, they have like top and bottom bunks, and then you have this shelf and a desk, and then you have this like a little closet, and it divides like each cubicle, right? About 150 people each unit. Altogether, probably about 1,000, 1,200 men in this prison camp from New York City, Detroit, Boston, DC, all over. When you're in jail and it's time to go to sleep and there's bars, close the bars. As long as you and your bunkie is good, get you a good night's sleep. Am I right? In a dormitory setting, when someone wants to get to you, there's nothing to stop them from getting to you. As soon as you lay down to sleep, someone can walk into your cubicle and beat the hell out you. When do you sleep? People were sleeping in the middle of the day because they couldn't sleep at night. People had people watching out so people can get sleep. They were beating people in the head with locks and socks. They were stabbing people with shanks. They were setting people's beds on fire. It's wide open. And what happened is when people would come to visit someone, they had this road that they would drop stuff off on the road. And so since it's wide open, people were bringing in all type of knives, all type of weapons. People had cocaine, marijuana, everything. It was wide open. It was so bad that people that worked their way down from being behind the wall wanted to go back. So now I'm trying to survive in this. So I'm staying clear of all the stuff that's going on. And then what happens is when you get your paperwork, your PSI, when people want to know that you're a snitch, they look for something called 5K1 points. So they ask for your paperwork, especially the Italians. Now, I was in there with, like, this guy was John Gotti's cousin. I mean, they was, like, serious that soon as the Italians, soon as someone came in, they wanted to see your paperwork. So what happened was they was pushing up on people so much that the warden banned everybody's paperwork. So if you had your paperwork, they was going through everybody's stuff, taking your paperwork, or you had to send it home. One of the guys got mad, put a slip of paper under the warden's door and said, "I'll burn this motherfucker down." Excuse my language. 2 days later, they set a fire in the rec room and burned up the TV in the rec room. The only unit that was not on lockdown at the time was my unit. And they didn't know who did it, so they randomly took 20 of us to the hole. 20, like 8 blacks, about 7 to 8 Puerto Ricans, 7 to 8 Italians. Now, they put me in the hole under investigation. Under investigation, you could stay in the hole up to 6 months for something I had no knowledge of. In the hole, you're locked down 23 hours a day. They feed you through a slot in the door, and the only hour that you get is they take you out in the yard. Now, mind you, I'm in Pennsylvania in the dead of winter. They take you out in the yard, and they put you in this gate, probably about like this big. They put you in the gate just to get you some fresh air, and you stand out here in the gate for an hour just to get some fresh air. Then you go back up to the hole. But, huh? There were no phone calls in the hole. They let you take, I was in there for 3 weeks. They let us take a shower once a week. And they gave you, you know what I mean, other people's drawers to put on. So I was in there for 3 weeks for something I didn't do. And I always tell people that was my bottom. That when I decided that I would never, ever, ever do anything to risk my freedom, and that when I got out of jail, I was going to turn my life around. So I got out of jail, and now, in which we had to talk about this, not earlier, on Constitutional Day when I did this program for Judge Scretany. Now, even though I'm out of jail, and I've paid my debt to society, so to speak, now what am I? What is my stigma? What is my label? I am a felon. With a high school diploma and no job skills. What am I going to do with myself? How am I going to stay out of jail? What's going to stop me from so many people to go back to doing what you was doing that got you in jail? What am I going to do with myself? Now, mind you, I told you, I caught my case with a guy outside of my crew. So when I got back to Buffalo, what was my crew doing? They were still hustling. They was picking me up from the halfway house, and my halfway house counselor said, "TheArthur, someone in a different truck picks you up every day. You're going back to jail." And I said, "How you just want to tell me I'm going back to jail? You're supposed to be my counselor telling me positive stuff." She was like, "I've seen it too many times. Your friends, they're still out there. You're going to have to separate yourself from them or you're going to jail." Now, I'm looking for a job, and it's the dead of winter. So you telling me that someone that used to drive fancy cars, go from LA to New York to Miami, Vegas, all that, now you telling me I got to get on the bus of being this big-time drug dealer that's throwing away money. And I'm not gonna brag on it. The stuff is, I think I used to spend at least like $200, $300 on weed every day. Just throwing money away. Just throwing it away. Going to a club and buy bottles of Moet and just throwing money away. And now, I'm standing on the bus stop. Standing on the bus stop. And I had one time I went to try to get a job in a mall, and I filled out an application, and the lady was like, "Oh, Mr. Duncan, I'll interview you right now." And I said, "Okay." So she looks at my application, and I'm just waiting for the question to come. Because have you been convicted of a felony? So I'm waiting for her to get to it. So she looks it up and down, asks me, "Okay, you live on this street, blah, blah, blah. You've been convicted of a felony?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And under that it said, "What?" So I tried to use like the big words, conspiracy to possess and intent to possess a controlled substance. Like she wasn't gonna like catch on to it. So she was like, well, what is this intent to possess and distribute a controlled substance? What is this? I was like, that's what it is. Intent to control substance. She was like, what was the substance? I was like, it was just some drugs. She's like, what kind of drugs? It was crack, wasn't it? Yeah. So you were a drug dealer? Yeah. Say no more. I got up and left. And as I walked out, it dawned on me, this is going to happen to me for the rest of my life until I do something about this situation. Here's another thing. Everybody in here knows what you are good at. Some things that you may want to be good at, you're not, but you got to be real with yourself. I always call it go with your A game. You know what you are good at. Be the best you can be in that field. Distinguish yourself. I was always smart, but I didn't want to be the smart guy. I wanted to be a rapper. I wanted to go to the NBA. I wanted to be a drug dealer. I wanted to be popular. But I'm a nerd. I was always smart. My name is TheArthur. You can't get no nerdier than that. I was so smart in school, never studied. Everybody used to copy off my paper. I got pissed off, and I started writing the wrong answer, letting people copy it, let them turn the paper, then I erase it, then I write the right answer. That was my A game. But I didn't want to go with my A game. So now I'm in this position that I got this felony, and I'm like, what am I the best at? Duh. I'm smart. So I enrolled in school, ECC, and fortunately I got this professor, because I enrolled late, I got this professor and I had him for 2 classes. I had him on Mondays and Wednesdays for sociology, Tuesdays and Thursdays for U.S. history, so me and him got real cool. He said, TheArthur, what are you going to do after you graduate from ECC? And I said, well, I always wanted to be a lawyer, but I can't. He said, well, why not? You're doing well in my class. You're a very intelligent young man. Why can't you be a lawyer? I said, well, I'm a convicted felon, and I just did 3 years in federal prison. Here's the thing. And this is how you know if someone is in your corner. Once you tell them, disclose something, you tell them something bad, their reaction. So when I told him I was a felon, he didn't dead the conversation. Like, oh, okay. Well, there goes that. No. He says, does that stop you from becoming an attorney? Please, if you don't hear anything I say today, please listen to this. Don't assume anything. Please do the research. Please look into it. If you get one person tell you something and it don't sound right, please go to somebody else. I assumed that I couldn't be a lawyer with a felony. And he looked into it for me. Please, I spoke to a junior college in Buffalo, and I'm not going to name the junior college. I spoke to their criminal justice department. One of the counselors came to me and said, TheArthur, you got to come to the school and speak to our criminal justice department. We've been telling these kids all wrong. This is a college. We've been telling these kids that you cannot become a lawyer if you have a felony. That if you have any type of legal issues, forget about going into the law field. And there's no telling how many people they have discouraged over time with bad information. Can you get financial aid with a felony? Anybody know?
Yes.
Yes. You know how many people told me they can't get financial aid with a felony? And I said, how you think I got through school? I ain't pay for law school. I'm still paying student loans, but I got financial aid. But you want to argue with somebody that went through it because you're trying to find an excuse of not trying. Do the research. Do not listen to what they say. They don't know what they're talking about. Look into it. So he looks into it and he says, TheArthur, I have good news for you and I have bad news. And I said, well, what's the good news? He said, well, the good news is that there's no absolute bar to becoming an attorney with a felony. Now, because of my story, I got friends that became registered nurses that are felons. But they were told the same thing I thought, oh, you can't become a nurse. They're not going to let you practice or be a nurse with a felony. If it's discretionary, you look into it and it can be done, do the work. Do the work. So I decided to try it. I'm like, well, what do I have to lose? Worst case scenario, I'll graduate from law school, have a Juris Doctorate. I'll probably be able to find a job with a Juris Doctorate. So I straightened my life out. But here's the story. Here's the thing. It wasn't easy because I'm still living in Buffalo on the east side. Excuse my language, shit happens. The time when I went to the airport with my cousin, that could have turned out wrong. I went to a party. My other cousin was giving a party on the other side of town. Now in Buffalo, we have like what we call uptown, downtown, then like other areas, but I'm from downtown Buffalo. That's what they call it, down the way. And this party was up on Bailey Street, and they call it uptown. So sometimes we beef with each other, but it wasn't nothing really crazy. So my cousin gave a party up there, so I decided it wouldn't be no issue. You know what I mean? I'm not in the streets no more. I'm going to go and have a good time. So she had the party. It's like 4 o'clock. Everybody's leaving. My brother, she's trying to talk to this young lady, and a guy from Bailey, uptown, is basically like making little remarks. So my brother's attention turns to the guy, and they get to arguing back and forth. Now, the guy he was arguing with used to date my ex's sister. So I kind of knew the guy, like, yo, this is my brother. Man, let's all go home. It's no big deal, blah, blah, blah. Everybody been drinking. Y'all making a big deal out of nothing. Let's go home. Well, his friend decides, no. This is uptown Bailey. Y'all from downtown. Y'all shouldn't be up here anyway, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, grow up. This spills outside. So they still going back and forth. And kid you not, it's straight out of a movie. This guy's yelling, yo, Bailey, what's up, uptown, blah, blah, blah. Like it's some gang stuff. And my brother is yelling, what, downtown, blah, 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 what? And they going back and forth. And I'm like, we grown men. I'm 35, damn near 40 years old, and y'all going gang back and forth talking about some neighborhoods? Go home. But they didn't. And they kept going back and forth, and my brother, and I was ready to leave. I had a plate of food in my hand. I'm walking out. My brother reaches over me and punches this guy. And when he reaches over and punches the guy, he knocks my plate of food out of my hand. So when the food hit the ground, I jump over to the left to avoid the food being splattered on me. Everybody over here on the right got shot. My brother got shot. My cousin got shot in the shoulder. And one of my closest friends got killed. This is after I straightened my life. So I'm telling you, it's not going to be easy. Some things you cannot control. I was trying to be the good guy. But stuff happens. What could have been my reaction? I'm far from an angel, the stuff I did when I was in the streets. So if this would have happened before I went to jail, what do you think I would have did? Huh? What? Huh? No, I ain't had no gun. This was after I straightened my life. But if this would have happened before I went to jail, I would have went, make that phone call, loaded up, because I've done that. I got a friend, while I was in the streets, my friend named, we called him Lil Dap. He was the youngest one out the crew. He went to go hit a lick. The guy stabbed him and rolled him up in the carpet, and he bled to death and died. We looked for him for 2 days, couldn't find him. Saw on the news that a car like his was idling around the corner. And we like, no, couldn't be him. We thinking he probably in some hotel with some chick somewhere and not answering our calls. So, lo and behold, I knew somebody that worked at ECMC, and we called up there and they described his size and what he looked like. So we go up there and lo and behold, it's him. And I got his name tattooed on this arm right here. And that hurt me to death. And what do you think we did? We loaded up. We loaded up looking for this dude. Everybody had guns. We rode around for 2 days looking for this dude. And he lucky he turned himself in. Because that's the life I was living. But now this happens now. And a lot of times when I speak, I don't put in like the spiritual element of what I went through. Because by the grace of God, I'm still here. Like this the scar I have on my head right here. Before I went to jail, I got jumped in a bar, like hit in the head, like 3 dudes beat me with pool sticks. And 2 weeks before that, one of the ministers in my grandfather's church said, TheArthur she said, Tony, has anybody ever like stabbed you before? No, ain't nobody ever stabbed me. She was like, I had a dream about you. I seen someone being stabbed, and I saw you. And I'm like, ain't nobody ever stabbed me before. They better not even think about stabbing me. I rolled 10, 15 deep every time we go to the club. We the ones that's like, oh, here come these dudes. It's about to be some shit. So ain't nobody ever wouldn't even think about jumping me. The repercussions would be, you know what I mean? You couldn't bear the repercussions. So I thought I was untouchable. So I go to the bar, and that night, it wasn't that many of us in the bar. They closing the bar, and this dude just got out of jail, and I used to mess with his girl, so he had beef with me. So him and 3 of his dudes jumped me and hit me in the head with pool sticks. I almost lost this eye. I got a scar on my head. And while they was like stumping me and hitting me, one of my friends came over and stabbed the 3 of them. So now I'm in the hospital, and everybody's coming up there ready to go to war. Tom, let's go to war. Let's get these dudes. And what do you think I was thinking about? Yeah, the dream that the minister said. It's no coincidence. I can't retaliate. This was meant to happen. I believe God was trying to get my attention. This was part of my awakening, my wake-up calls, so to speak. Because the thing is, while I was doing all this crazy stuff, I knew I was wrong. So God was steady just trying to get my attention. So finally, he just put me in federal prison like, you're not going to get it. We're going to put you in prison over this phone call. So now here's the thing. Now I'm trying to become a lawyer, but I got this felony. Can it happen? I have to disclose each and every time I speak with someone, hoping that they give me a second chance. And this is what I always, when I speak, I challenge people who can help someone get a second chance. Without someone seeing that in me and giving me a second chance, I couldn't have become a lawyer. Without someone saying that, okay, we believe this guy changed, let's give him a second chance, it wouldn't happen. Now, of course, I had a lot of lip service. A lot of people, oh, sure, I'll write you a letter of recommendation. Oh, sure, I'll give you an internship. Oh, sure, and then you call them back, they don't answer. Had a judge that was supposed to help me get into law school give me the wrong number. I didn't give up. This door closed, I go to that door. That door closed, I go to that door. Here's a lesson, guys. Don't be intimidated by no one. Whether it's a teacher, a professor, adult, anybody, you show respect, but do not be intimidated. Open your mouth. If you want something, you ask for it. What's the worst they can say? No. And then you go on to the next. But if you stand there and scared and this and that and scared to ask for something, you're not going to get it. So don't be intimidated. So now I'm going in front of these judges, these politicians, and these people asking for a chance. Well, yeah, someone's going to say no. And and the funny part is they not just go outright say no. They're like, oh, okay, yes, Mr. Duncan, this and that, and then you don't get the return phone call or return email. So I graduated from UB, working at this time I had a wife and 5 kids. I was driving a wheelchair van, probably working about 50 hours a week. I graduated from UB with a 3.5 GPA. I took the LSAT, and I'm figuring I'm a sure end to get into UB Law School. I'm a hometown guy. I just got a 3.5 GPA. I know I can get into this law school. I went up there, met with the dean of admissions. You know what I mean? I'm here, I'm undergrad. I got letter of recommendation from professors here. I need to stay here with my wife and kids, but I don't get in. So I said, okay, I'm just going to wait and reapply next year. Because I got into some schools. I got into University of Dayton Law Schools, some schools in New York City, a couple other places. So I'm showing that to UB like, look, even though I got this felony, people want me in their law school. They didn't let me in. And I couldn't leave my family. So I was waiting around, reapplied the next year. And I got on a waiting list, and then I got denied again. So I'm talking to my wife like, babe, I just can't keep waiting around. I want to be a lawyer so I can take care of you and the kids. Something's got to give. So I got into Cleveland Law School in Cleveland. You know, Cleveland is like about, I don't know how far it is from here. It's like 3 hours from Buffalo. 2. Okay. So I got into Cleveland Law School. I got in, and but I didn't have no money to live there. But I had a car. So what did I do? I drove back and forth. I used to get up 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning on a Monday to make it to my class in Cleveland at 9 o'clock. Had to do what I had to do. And I couldn't afford an apartment the first semester. And because of that, I got like 3 D's and 2 C's because I couldn't study. I was too busy driving back to Buffalo every day or every other day. Or when I would stay there. You know what I mean? I would stay in a hotel sometimes and stay overnight, but I couldn't afford no apartment. So finally, second semester, got my dad to loan me some money, and I got an apartment in Cleveland. And second semester, I got good grades. I got 2 A's, 3 B's, and I did pretty well. But my whole thing was when I went to Cleveland, I was trying to transfer back to Buffalo. But I figured after that first semester, it was a wrap. It was over. But here's the thing about people who can help you. I got an internship with a Buffalo City Court judge. And like I was telling the gentleman right here, I worked hard for the whole summer and did everything I can, and about time it was time to go back to school, I had her call in the law school for me. And I got in. And once I was there, I did well. I became the president of the Black Law Student Association, and I did well, and I got a job at the law department of the city of Buffalo. I graduated. The first time I took the bar, I failed it by 3 points because I couldn't type. I took it again 6 months later, and I passed it. And I'm glad you guys are sitting down. And I know Greg didn't tell you guys when I became assistant corporation counsel what my job was. As assistant corporation counsel, I worked in the city of Buffalo's law department, and I defended the city and its departments in civil litigation. What departments in the city did I defend? Sanitation, yeah. Snowplow trucks, yeah. Yeah. Now you have a convicted felon defending the police. How you think that made me feel? Well, see, I had to zealously, it was my job, I had to zealously defend my client. But at the same time, because of my life experience, I don't believe everything that police officers say just because he's a police officer. So when we had an excessive force case, I can look at it from both ways. I can go to my boss and be like, think we need to settle this one. I don't believe the police officer. As opposed to someone who never been in a situation like, oh, police officer wouldn't plant any drugs on anyone. Yeah. They planted drugs on me a few times. Beat me down with the poles, with the sticks a few times. Punched me in the face, arrested me a few times. Drove me around, tried to make me seem like I was a snitch to other people, drug corners, a few times. But at the same time, I know the law. So I can be able to discern things that you can't discern. I'm like, okay, really? Is that what really happened, officer? So that put me in a position to me to really seek justice. And the funny part is I worked there, me being a felon was kind of on a need-to-know basis, even though I didn't hide it. But like the paralegals and the legal secretaries in the law department didn't know. And we had this one paralegal that every time somebody sued the city of Buffalo, she would do a background check on them. So when they would come in for a deposition, she would give me this, she'd be like, oh, TheArthur, this guy's an asshole. He has 2 felonies, he's gonna be come up here and lying, blah, 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 we'll look it up, this and that. And I'm like, if only you knew. And so when I wrote the book, she got the book and she read it and she came in my office crying. Said, TheArthur, I didn't know. And I was like, well, what are you apologizing for? She didn't say it. She was apologizing because of the way she thought about people that were felons. And now I done messed her up because I'm one of her favorite people. Every day she's coming to work, TheArthur, and I'm always making them laugh and stuff, and she's always talking about felons and stuff, and now she came to me crying, and I done messed her head up. Because again, we prejudge. We don't know what's going on. And I have people tell me, why would you put this story out there? Why would you tell people that you're a felon? You're a lawyer now. You're a respected person in the community. You're a lawyer. Well, I didn't go through all this to keep it a secret. I didn't go through all this not to be able to tell this story about people who make mistakes need a second chance. We all make mistakes. We all make mistakes every day, and we will continue to make mistakes. But we cannot let mistakes define us. We cannot let mistakes be our excuse, our crutch. I tell somebody every day, they say, Tone, I can't go back to school. Oh, I'm a felon. Well, Tone, I can't go back to school. You know, I got the wife and the kids. I got a wife and 5 kids. Well, Tone, I can't go back to school. Oh, I'm too old. I graduated from law school at the age of 43. Come on, give me something else. What, Tone, I'm from the hood? I'm from the hood. I got tats up and down, all this gang stuff. I still got it. Don't give me an excuse. Do the work. Do the work. Now, for everybody here I want to see you guys sometime in the future. Say, Mr. Duncan, I came to your speech and I'm a lawyer now. I'm a doctor now. I'm an engineer now. I had a little something going on at the house, but I ain't let that stop me from doing what I was doing. Because we all got issues. We all got a brother, somebody that's in jail, somebody that's doing something they ain't supposed to do. So we can't let it stop us. For you guys out there, let me ask you a question. Who's the most important person in the world to you? Your mother? Who else? Anybody else? Your father? Who you say? Your mother? What about you? Your mom? Anybody else? You in a yellow jacket, who's the most important person to you? Your mom? Is that right? Is this a right or wrong answer? Is it open to opinion? I say it's wrong. Huh? Right. You are the most important person in the world. If you don't have yourself together, how do you help your moms? Huh? How you gonna help your dad? Get yourself together. Get your career, a job, then go help your mama. Because at your current state, your status, your mother is worried about you. What can you do for your mother at this point? Your mother wants you to do good. If your mother is worrying about you not doing good, if your mother is still taking care of you, get yourself together first. Then go help your mother. Because if you say, oh, my mother's the most important person in the world, well, what can you do for her if you're not together? Huh? I'm just being serious. What can you do for your mother? What can you do for your dad? Except go in the house, Mom, can you cook us something to eat? What about getting yourself together, getting a career, buying your mother a house, a car? Getting yourself together. Show her she's important so she can brag about you. Like I was talking about before. My mother can brag about me now. What's Tony doing? Oh, he's an attorney. He turned his life around. He's an author. He's an attorney. Now my mother can brag about me. And I feel good. But what hurts me to this day, and it still makes me teary-eyed, that when my grandmother and grandfather died, I was still doing wrong. And I know everybody say, well, Tony, they looking down at you in heaven, and they see you change your life and you're doing good. They didn't get to see it. They didn't get to come to a graduation, see me in the paper, see me on TV. Because even though I changed my life, I changed it too late for them. And that's who raised me. Even though I'm glad my mother is here to see it, my father. But I shamed my grandfather. He was there when I went to jail. And he died before I did anything with my life. So if my grandfather was so important to me while I was growing up, oh, my grandfather, he's the backbone of the family. I love him. He takes care of us. How did I show my appreciation to my grandfather? I shamed him and I went to jail. So if my grandfather was so important, I would have got myself together. That's the lesson. Get yourself together so you can help your family. Because believe me, your family is going to need it. You may be the one that's set the example, the first one to go to college, the first one to do good, be the trailblazer. Be the first one to do it, and then everybody start following behind you. That's what we visual. We need to see it done. And that's why I do so many talk speeches, and I go to high schools and everything, because I don't want people to say, oh yeah, we heard about this guy that went to jail and became a lawyer. No, I'm right here. Not a myth. It can be done. You just have to do the work. And the funny thing is, when I got to, after I passed the bar, I had to go in front of the Character and Fitness Committee. Now, this is a committee that decides whether I can practice law or not. And this was the discretionary people that basically I could have went through all this for naught. I could have went, you know what I mean, law school, all that, graduate, passed the bar. I could not become an attorney unless this committee said, okay. And this committee was comprised of the local lawyers and judges, and basically they could have told me no. And I could have did all that for nothing. Like I said, worst case scenario to me was I had a law school degree, a Juris Doctorate, but I wouldn't be able to practice law and represent anyone in court. So I go in front of this committee, and the funny part is, we're sitting there, and it's like about 100 people there, and everybody's doing a one-on-one, and I'm like, yeah, I know they're gonna call me last. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, I got issues. You know what I mean? And so the guy calls me in, and he's like, TheArthur, and I'm ready with my spiel. You know, I think I've been arrested at least 10, 15 times. So I'm like, this guy gonna ask me when I got arrested here, when I got arrested here, when I was doing here. So I had to spill a story for every time I got arrested. So I go in the room with the guy, and he's like, I can't make this stuff up. First question he asked me, who is your pastor? And I'm like, what? He said, who's your pastor? And I was like, his name is Jason Drake, and why? And he like, oh, because the letter he wrote in your behalf was so compelling. And I was like, yeah, you know what I mean? He's a great pastor, blah, blah, blah. So I'm trying to go into my spiel. Yeah, and I take responsibility for everything. He was like, TheArthur, I ain't asked you about none of that. He was like, you are the epitome of someone I believe has changed his life. And I'm going to recommend that the committee license you. But he said, but because you're a felon, you're probably going to have to go in front of the whole committee. So he told me to go back in the room and have a seat. So I said, oh, yeah, I know, here it comes. They're going to call me back in the room. They're going to put the hot light on me. They're going to grill me and stuff. So I went back in there, and there was 2, 3 other guys sitting there. They had to meet with the committee too. And this one guy, I swear to God, he's sitting behind me, and he's telling the other guy about this disorderly conduct arrest he got in law school, that he's worried about not getting licensed. I'm thinking in my head, disorderly conduct? I just want to turn around and just smack this shit. I was, dude, if only you knew what I'm worried about. So I sat there for about 5 minutes, and the guy calls me back in, and instead of taking me back to the Character and Fitness Committee, the rest of the committee, he takes me back in the same room, and he says, TheArthur, the committee already talked about you. Go on home. You're fine. They voted to license you. And I'm like, wow. How did that happen? Well, it happened because my bar application, I had a letter from an assemblywoman. I had a letter from a councilman. I had a letter from a pastor. And I had a letter from 2 judges. Because these people believed in me. They believed in second chances. So again, if you're in a position to help somebody with a second chance, after properly vetting them, write that letter of recommendation. Make that phone call. We get caught up with quid pro quo. And quid pro quo is just a Latin term. It means favor for a favor. Everybody's always trying to hold on to their favors and stuff. No, I'm not going to make this phone call from this guy. I'm holding this favor for this person, or I don't want to ask for this favor because then I'm going to owe somebody a favor and this and that. And it's true. You trying to get into college and you ask somebody to write a letter or make a phone call to help you get into college, like, oh, I don't know, I was kind of saving this favor for Johnny. And it happens. Because we're caught up on the quid pro quo. But just to wrap it up, then I was sentenced to 46 months in federal prison in front of Judge Scretney. Now, when I got licensed in New York State, I got licensed to practice in New York State, which only includes state issues, not federal issues. So I had to apply to get admitted into federal court. Who better to admit me to federal court than the same judge that put me in federal prison? I handpicked him. I called the lawyer that represented me on my criminal case, Anthony Lana, and I said, because he goes by Tone. I'm like, Tone, I'm about to apply for admission to federal court, and I want you to be my sponsor and attorney. He said, don't tell me you're going to do it in front of Scretney. I said, yep, we're going to do it in front of Scretney. The total, 360. So I went in front of Judge Scretney, and my lawyer, Lana, said, Judge, this time me and TheArthur is going to walk out here together, as opposed to last time I went to jail for 46 months. And he admitted me into federal practice. And now I actually can call him a good friend of mine. And he's someone that believes in second chances. And you have to believe in yourself also and do the right thing. And if you guys got any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Well, given some time constraints, I know for the
Ran
kids actually
over.
have to go back to
Ran
school.
over.
And I just want to thank TheArthur Duncan and thank you. I've sat over here and we've done hundreds of programs at the Robert Jackson Center, and I've never seen a crowd who has not moved. They haven't spoken, they haven't done anything other than listen to you attentively.
Appreciate it.
And I can't thank you enough. And I was at the Robert H. Jackson Federal Courthouse when I had a chance to meet him, when in fact that was in front of Judge Scretney, who spoke so admirably about your career and your life. And it's just so great that you could come down here to Jamestown and to share it. So on behalf of everybody here and the Jamestown Pre-Law Academy and all you students who've been incredibly attentive because of what you've said and how you've said it, I thank you very much. So
Appreciate it.
TheArthur Duncan, thank you.